people. As of now, the cause of the fire has not been determined. Another pro sports league that had its action interrupted by COVID-19 has now set up a playoff plan, as we hear from USA Radio's John Hunt.
Hockey became the latest sport to finalize a return during the global pandemic after NHL owners and players approved an agreement to resume the season. Games are scheduled to begin August 1st in Toronto and Edmonton, Alberta, with coronavirus cases in the United States pushing the league into Canada for the summer and the fall until the Stanley Cup is awarded in late September or early October. Training camps open across North America on Monday, which is also the deadline for players to opt out of participating with no penalty. Minnesota's Zach Parise earlier this week said he doesn't think a lot of players will choose not to play, but hours after the agreement was reached, Calgary defenseman Travis Hamonic became the first player to publicly opt out, citing family reasons.
Again, that's USA Radio's John Hunt reporting, and for USA Radio News, I'm Chris Barnes.
Inspired by our German artisan roots, Süß Caramel has redefined the art of caramel making. Slow crafted, all natural, and preservative free with uncompromising standards. Cooked gently in small batches to create velvety textures and layers of flavor like no other caramel you've ever experienced. It is our sincere hope that you enjoy each Süß Caramel as much as we enjoy making it for you. I'm Tammy Fahey, and I never tire of hearing how much people enjoy my caramels. Please visit SüßCaramel.com to place your order and to see a listing of stores that carry our amazing caramels.
It's 9:06.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann, a leading expert in professional coaching, clinical hypnosis, and energy clearing. Lois is an award-winning author of Chronicles of Hope. She has decades of experience in advanced hypnosis techniques, has conducted highly effective success coaching programs that have helped clients discover ways to achieve success, empower themselves, their families, as well as holistic practitioners to expand their practices. Get ready to be empowered with your host, Lois Hermann.
Hello, and I hope you're enjoying your summer. Are you having one of those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer? Or are you being more productive than ever? Are you digging in the gardens, working on projects around the house, or going on outings in nature, in our wonderful, lovely nature? Whatever you're doing, I hope you're enjoying it. This has been a very busy time of transitions for me. I successfully relocated my office into my treehouse nest, where I can see the tops of the trees from my window at home and listen to the music of the birds in the early morning when it's cool enough to have the windows open. Of course, this move also involved cleaning, sorting, and organizing long neglected stuff in the basement, attic, and spare room in order to make way. Things are coming together nicely, and it feels really good to have cleared the clutter and to be so organized. And I had my very first week of clients this week in my new virtual office, and it was really wonderful. People are enjoying the extra quiet time to process their insights without having to get in the car and drive home. And I have to admit that in the midst of a lightning storm one day, I looked out the window and said, oh my gosh, I am so grateful to be safely tucked at home. I don't have to get out there and fight that. So another big transition for me was to finalize the edits to Chronicles of Hope, the Collective Book 2. I'd like to call it my book because I've poured myself into it, body, mind, and soul, for 7 months straight. However, it's truly a book of insights that is meant for humanity, from the incredibly wise ones that I was honored to communicate with. They say this message has to get out there, and it has to get out there quickly. Humanity does not realize how little time they have left. Too much angst and stress in our world. We need to be the peacemakers. The messages that came are for us to learn ways to come together as one, to put aside our differences, and to relate to each other as brother and sister with compassion, understanding, and peace. I have to say there was an elated feeling of success as I placed that 5-pound document with all of the different colored edit tabs into the FedEx box to overnight to the publisher. And it's the product of many hands, minds, and hearts. There's no way I could have achieved this milestone without some very special people who were here to help me along the way, my Team Hope members. They shared my passion for this work, and I'm ever grateful for their expertise. I often ask my guests for their favorite quote, and one of my favorites from Anne was, "Do what you can't not do." I love that. I love that. To me, that is the foundation for success. Do what you can't not do. You can ask my husband. I've been like a dog with a bone with this book. I can't not do it. It's a passion. I'm on a mission, and I invite you to mark your calendars for 8/8. Save the date. Don't be late. It'll be available on Amazon for a special $1 rate. So you'll remember that, won't you? You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann at WSMN 1590 AM. And guess what, everybody? It is now 95.3 FM as well. We are celebrating here at the studio. We've finally gone FM. Oh my gosh, the guys have done an incredible job of updating all the electronics. We're now listen, watch, and stream, right, on WSMN. So I want to ask you, what is your passion? Do you know the secret of success? Do you have a success paradigm? How do you overcome roadblocks to success? Well, my very special guest today is an expert in helping others achieve success. He'll help you to answer those questions and discover your true potential. Doing what he can't not do. Please help me welcome an amazing success coach, John Butruccio. Yes. Welcome, John.
Thank you. I feel welcome.
Good.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself, what your background. You have a very interesting background. You're a self-made man.
I am. So go back to when I graduated from trade school, I guess, in 1976.
Trade school. Love it.
Trade school.
Trade school. Okay.
Yeah. So, I graduated from trade school as in the woodworking industry and stayed with it up until 2007 when I discovered coaching and leadership development training and changed my career. Mm-hmm. So most of that and the woodworking still stays with me, of course. I can't say no to that for some reason.
That's a passion.
It is a passion, yes. It's my peace and tranquility to
Sure.
sit in a shop and the smell of wood and hearing saws running, I like that. But yeah, the from simple woodworking techniques coming out of trade school and working into architectural millwork in the Boston area, that it was a thriving market, and working in these big shops as a production manager. So for most of my woodworking career was actually in managing people, and then owning my own business took it to the next level.
Right.
And what got me into this new industry, so now it's been since 2007. In 2005, I went to a personal mastery, personal development program. And it shocked me. It really, it brought me to my knees, actually.
How so?
So in I'll call it my subconscious state of most of my life, doing what I thought I knew how to be, I did very well. Successful management and running a business and managing production for other companies. What I realized is there was another whole new world of my beingness that I was not utilizing.
Interesting.
And
your beingness. I like that.
Beingness.
Yes.
And I realized that I was really just on automatic pilot for the knowledge that I had. And this new knowledge was what it brought me to my knees, actually, and quite literally in some sense. That what I didn't know, what you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
A different level of consciousness, I guess I'll call it, is what it ended up being.
Sure.
And it took a lot of years for me to realize that. So, and that's when I decided to change careers. I said, if this is what I didn't see about myself, then people need to see this.
Right.
And so I changed careers. I just started off with a company called True Choice Coaching.
Okay.
And I did personal development workshops and personal empowerment workshops. And it evolved into more corporate work, where and because I could interact with more people in one place. Mm-hmm. So what the transformation happened at one of my personal empowerment workshops. There was 15 people or so there, and the majority of them were professionals, high-placed jobs. They were very important in their positions, and they wanted to quit their jobs. So I asked them, why do you want to quit your job? What's going on with that? He says, well, I love what I do. I love the money. It's close to home. But without using any swear words that they used, I hate my boss.
Oh.
Over and over, I was hearing that, and I decided, okay, you know what? I think I need to get into the corporate level, which is very challenging, not being from the corporate world.
And that's an interesting concept, because I was in a workshop a couple of weeks ago, and she was talking about the number one reason people leave. Excuse me. Yeah. The number one reason people leave their employment is not because of what they're doing; it's because of the interaction with their boss.
Yes.
So that's very interesting that you should say that, because I just heard that not long ago.
Yeah. So if you if you Google why people quit their jobs, the numbers are very similar to depending on who's reporting it. But it's like the last I read, 75% of the people who leave their job is because of their boss.
And I can relate to that myself.
Yeah.
Different jobs that I've left, as much as I was in a good paying, good position that I loved interacting with the people with me, but dealing with a very onerous above me manager was not a lot of fun.
Yeah. So there was a lot of self-reflection in that when I started going into these corporate environments of how I was showing up as a manager or a business owner.
Right.
And I was very, very fortunate. Without the training, specific training on leadership, I did very well. But I also realized that I could have done better, much better. But that's part of growth as well. So I didn't beat myself up too much over that, but I did a little bit. That's the shocking part of it. Yeah.
Well, I think some people have that natural ability. There were some people who inspired you along the way, and you had told me that there were people who believed in you.
Yes. And so after that conversation that I had with you, I didn't realize that that's who they were. They believed in me. Mm-hmm. Didn't see it that way, but they did help me.
Right.
And they were, two of the people were people I worked for. They saw something in me. They put me in leadership positions and management positions, like right out of the woodworking shop, and said, John, you are it. You are in charge. And I never saw myself that way. Mm-hmm. So fortunately, I did, like you said, some people have the knack for it.
And some people actually, when you're good at what you do, you end up being promoted into a position of authority without the training or the true understanding of authority.
Exactly.
You just because you're good at what you do, you end up being promoted.
Yes, exactly. And without setting those people up with some kind of training for leadership, you set them up for failure and ultimately for the whole organization.
Correct.
So that's the long story, I guess, of what inspired me to do what I'm doing now. Yeah.
So what happened after you have a story that you tell about working with people who were not happy with they were complaining or just basically offloading to you about the reasons they don't like their job is because of their boss and you have
the
this interesting story.
One that inspired me to shift from workshops to go into corporate. This one woman was a visitor at one of my workshops, and she and everybody goes around the circle, and they all introduce themselves and why they're there or why we're here. And when it came to her turn, she was new, and she started crying, like sobbing. And I don't see that often in my workshops, so it was a surprise to me. And what she was sharing is these people who are complaining about how they hate their boss could be the people that work for me.
Wow.
She discovered through what they call the 360-degree feedback in the company she worked for, discovered that all the people she worked with hated her.
Oh, wow.
And she was going to either be fired or she was going to quit. She had been there for 5 years, and this is vice president of IT of a multi-billion-dollar international company. It's a huge company. Traveled all over the world, but she was shocked to discover that they all hated her. So she hired me right away, and she asked me to talk to her boss to see if he would pay for it. And he said, definitely, let's do it. If we can save her, it's worth whatever it costs.
Wow.
Because I guess she was very good at what she did. So I coached her for 6 months. It was the beginning of the year. I forget what year it was, about 10 years ago. And we finished, and she had a whole new insight of her being, her leadership and what it meant, and why she understood why her subordinates hated her. Actually, even everybody who worked for her or with her. Yeah. So the success came several months later when she went into the office during the Christmas shutdown. She went into her office, and her office was filled with Christmas presents from the people that hated her.
That used to hate her.
That used to hate her.
Wow.
A major shift in her, how she showed up, and
wow.
And I love that success story because it shows that from somebody that was ready to quit or be fired to she's still there. It's been almost 10 years
and
now.
I'll bet she was crying happy tears at that point.
Happy tears.
Yeah.
And you know, the interesting thing about that, where her the knowledge she had got her to where she was, she needed new knowledge to get to the next level.
Okay.
And come to find out, she grew up in a military family.
Yes.
And everything had to be a certain way, and it was military. And, you know, us civilians don't listen to that kind of stuff, you know.
I get that.
Yeah.
I was raised with a military officer. My mother every Saturday would come through with a white glove treatment and swipe all the places in the room that you didn't see to clean. You know, this is not clean. Let's get this clean. So she, even though she wasn't military, she still had that mindset because my father was that way. So yeah, I've had to break my Type A upbringing. My children will tell me now that, wow, you're a whole lot more relaxed, Mom. Because I recognize that this is not a healthy way to be, that rigid, that overly disciplined. Organized and disciplined is one thing, but to take it to that next level is constricting, actually.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned Type A, because I never thought of myself as that way. But now I understand more what it is, what that personality. I see myself as being at some level of Type A, that everything has to be a certain way. And learning now that it doesn't have to be any way, actually.
Right.
It's just my brain saying it has to be.
And yet I tell you what, now that I'm home and these things that have been, you know, when Kurt and I moved into this house 9 years ago, we said, well, someday we'll go through those boxes. Well, because of having to make way for me to come in and have a room at home, this has been that someday, going through all that old clutter. And I have to say, it feels very, my organized brain is like happy, you know. Things are coming together and they're organized. There's not these, you know, mysterious clutter boxes hanging around. So there's a part of me that is grateful for it, and yet at the same time not avoiding enforcing it on others, except for my poor husband, who's still going through his boxes. So,
awesome.
So you help, just wanted to mention to our listeners that you are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann, and we are here at WSMN 1590 AM and WSMN 95.3 FM, celebrating. And we are here today with John Butruccio, who is a corporate success coach. So John, tell us more about how you help people in the corporate world. You work more one-on-one with people?
Actually, my intention when I first started doing that was to work with the highest level, CEO or owner. And sometimes I do, but I find that a lot of times a lot of resistance there. So fortunately, people who do resist that kind of work have a tendency to blame others, which is not a very good leadership trait, to be quite frank with you. Of course. So fortunately, they say, okay, they need it. They point their finger towards the office. And fortunately, there'll be often groups of 10 or 15 or more, which is wonderful to if you can't start at the top, I believe in the starburst effect. Start in the middle and work our way out.
Nice.
Which works. So, however, there's a certain point in time with working with mid-management, if you will, and working with them on their leadership skills, and they are learning and expanding. They start asking me the question, well, if we're being told we have to act this way, well, what about the upper people?
Exactly.
And that's a tough position to be put in,
because they're the sandwich. They're in the middle,
yes,
between the upper management and the people underneath.
Right.
And I have been there. It is a tough position to be in.
It is. And so going back to my workshops, I would be asked the same question. I would just use this term, lead by example.
Exactly.
And understand that it's just energy around us. It's energy coming from them. It's all they know. And when that part of their leadership training is how to deal with people like that, because it's going to be everywhere. And so I show them how to save their job. So fortunately for the company, they stay, and they have better leadership skills.
And the companies thrive.
So it may not be perfect up here at the top level, but it is certainly better in the middle. And so that's... and so some companies are strictly the CEO or the owner of the company, and it's my favorite place to be, because I know that when they wake up, when they see it and become more conscious of their being the leadership skills, the rest is going to follow. The rest of the people are going to see it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because when that person has an awareness of how they affect others, the simple things that are said, how others interpret them based on body language, based on tone, intonation, all of that.
Yes.
A leader could say one little thing. I know there's a story about two different people are sitting there, and the boss walks in and doesn't say anything. One person says, "Oh my God, what did I do?" The other person says, "Oh my God, what's the matter with them?" So most people, especially when it's an upper level management position, most people think, "Oh dear, what did I do?"
Right.
And that's not fair to the people.
Right.
What the boss needs to own, that person has to own. Okay, I'm having a challenging day. Honesty and integrity to me are the best policy.
That's right.
Just being able to say, "Sorry, I'm having an off day." Just being open, honest, and candid with your people, so that you can encourages them. That gives them a sense of being a part of. Yeah.
Exactly. And it saddens me when I have clients come to me and they want to know how to get to the top, if you will, in the industry. And to hear the story over and over, how somebody above them is holding them back purposely. And it is purposeful. And that saddens me. It's like, what do you do with that? How can you get around that? And so I just always say, just show them how it's done, and lead by example.
Yes.
And eventually karma is going to come back and bite those people, I believe.
Someone else will notice them.
Somebody else will notice, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know when we had a conversation earlier, you reminded me of when I relocated from a medical facility. I was middle management in a medical facility, a big hospital, and in the South, and moved up here to work for Hewlett-Packard. And their management strategy was so entirely different. I'd sit in the meetings in my old hospital network, and people would be interrupting each other, and it was force. It was about getting your word known. And so then I started sitting in these meetings with the engineering teams, and they had what they called management by walking around, MBWA. My upper manager would walk up to me on any given day and ask me by name, how's Amber, how's Peyton, how are my children? She knew more. She related to me. Is there anything I can do to help you?
Right.
It was never, what are you doing? It was, how may I help you be more successful?
Yes.
She was incredible.
Yes.
And sitting in those teams where my nature, because of my medical background, was to interrupt and interject, and everybody would look at me like, oddball.
Yeah.
And I had to learn to zip it
and
take notes, because as everyone went around the table, someone would actually answer my question. if I would just stop and listen.
That's
and
right.
then when it came my turn to deliver, I could share my part of the team, what it is that I'm working on for the team. But it was a really very unusual eye-opener, because on this team there were different ethnicities, different gender, there were so many different personalities, and everyone, this is back in the early 90s, and everyone was treated so equally, and I was in awe of how this whole team, this organization was managed, and that really changed my perception of life.
There's quite a contrast there, isn't there?
Quite a contrast,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I do see it myself, going into different companies. Some are run better than others, I guess, from a human standpoint, taking care of their people. But you got to see that firsthand.
I did. I got to experience it firsthand. And then I also experienced the takeover of another company. And that all shifted. The new company had a different management policy, and people fled, and I left too, because it really, the attitude changed. And that's all it takes, is that attitudinal shift. And it's like, oh, this does not, it's like, okay, put me back into an old box. It doesn't feel right anymore. Yeah.
You know, I know there's a mentality that if you don't like it, leave.
Yes.
In a scenario like that, and that they will find somebody to take our place.
Of course. Yeah.
And I experienced the same thing. Actually, in going from a company where there were, I'll call them mean people managing, and when I left and went to another company, it was like a breath of fresh air.
Sure.
And like within 6 months, I was managing production there. So it's just the energy shifted completely.
And with the energy shift, you're more interested in contributing.
Yes.
You're excited to get up and go to work in the morning. You're excited. You really feel like a part of the team.
Yes.
And you will do over and above.
Right.
You will do more than you're
Right.
asked to do. And listeners, you're listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann. We're here every Sunday morning, and I think George actually plays the show a couple of other times during the week. But you are listening to WSMN 1590 AM and WSMN 95.3 FM. And you can find all of my prior shows on my YouTube channel. And the way that you get there is bit.ly, bit.ly/Lois Hermann YouTube. And you can find all these shows. And I'm speaking today with John Butruccio, who is a corporate success coach. And he has a lot of wonderful, interesting information about shifting your paradigm. So, John, can you tell us about paradigms? What is a paradigm?
Well, you know something, when I went from True Choice coaching, the True Choice still has a deep meaning to me about how everything is a choice. And that's how I ran my business, and taught people about their choices they make. Is going to be, you have a choice to take the high road or take the low road, so to speak. And it came time to change the name. That outdid itself, and with good results. And I come up with a new name, and I love the word success, because it can be success in anything, in life and business.
Absolutely.
And usually when one is going good, the rest is going to follow. And I kept thinking, okay, I saw the word paradigm, and it intrigued me because the way it was spelled didn't sound the same, and most people didn't know what it meant. And I looked at it out of maybe 30 different names to choose from. And it made it to the top of the list. It kept showing up. And so the word paradigm, in the simplest form, is a way of thinking or a way of doing something.
Okay.
A paradigm. And it can be a religious paradigm, a political paradigm. It's just the way we think. And so when people ask me, what does it mean? Almost everybody asks me what it means. Success paradigm. Is, do you have a success paradigm? Are you playing to win? As maybe playing not to lose, so to speak. There's a big difference.
Yes.
So, and it reminds me every day when I wake up. I have my business cards everywhere, and I see that my success paradigm is always turning, and bring that to my clients. I ask them right away, are you running your business with a success paradigm, or are you just trying to get by? just trying to make it to the next day. There's a big difference.
There's a huge difference.
And just the way we think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I get this one job, I can make it till next month.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't work. It's not a success.
Well, it works on a very limited basis.
It works
on a
limited basis.
They make it to the next month, but they don't grow beyond.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work to grow. It just keeps us in a
and some people
pattern.
they're happy with that.
People
that's
are.
their comfort zone.
Right.
That's what they want.
Right.
And yet there's a lot of people that want to grow, want to do their passion, but they get started and then stop.
Right.
They get started and then stop.
Right.
And what I've learned over my many different, like you, I've had a myriad of different careers. I just keep pushing forward.
Mm-hmm.
And this book has been one of those success paradigms. Just one chapter, just keep going,
Sure.
Now, what's the next? So now, and just visualizing the ultimate outcome, and knowing that you're on the right path.
Exactly.
There's a sense of truly knowing in your heart, I'm called to do this. This is what I'm here to do. And oftentimes my experience is, it's not about how much money I will make. It's about how much I am contributing. What can I contribute?
Right.
And the money that comes is a bonus side effect. So many people work all about making money, but they lose track of their passion.
Right.
What is it that they're making?
Exactly. So there are so many pieces to the puzzle of running a business. Anywhere from family at home, and the time you have off, and your business, a business. And I remember walking into an office. There was a young man taking over the business from the family. And I asked him, what is your goal? And he kind of avoided that. And I asked him again, what is your goal? What is your financial goal for the company? He goes, John, I don't have a goal. I'll be happy to break even next month. That's not a success paradigm.
Right.
And when I saw the rest of the company, I worked with him for about 6 months. That was one of the few owners that actually allowed me to work with them. When I started working with the company, I could see that mentality of breaking even was showing up everywhere.
Right.
They all had that mentality. If I get just this done today, then the company's happy and we're going to break even.
Right.
You could see that. But when we started working with setting goals to increase their revenue and their production, in that company, they were so unorganized. They saw 30% increase without doing anything, without changing anything other than mindset. Moving some people around, but the same company, the same shop, the same amount of machines produced 30% more.
Because that also provides long-term security, not just I can feed myself for today.
Right.
It's more like, okay, I want to feel that what I'm doing matters, and I want to feel secure that what I'm investing in with my time is going to help support me over the long term.
Right. So after several years of understanding more what paradigm was and in a way of thinking, it shows up in other areas of our lives. In the paradigm, some people think that the way things are is the way things will always be.
Right.
That's a paradigm as well. And to shift that train of thought, we have that power within ourselves.
Right.
And getting people to understand it. And I've had people grab a hold of that and run with it, and others cry because there's no way that they could be. Their paradigm was so powerful.
It takes some work to shift those old paradigms, those things, the belief systems that we've been taught and trained that have that have traversed genetically and environmentally from our parents, from our programming. It takes risk to break through those paradigms and to create to be open to a new paradigm.
Exactly. And I mentioned earlier about what shifted to me, the part that brought me to my knees, so to speak, was when I saw the cognitive dissonance in me show up.
Can you explain cognitive dissonance to our listeners?
So the cognitive dissonance in my personal experience is, well, basically what it means is a belief so strong and so powerful that anything presented to us to the contrary would be resisted or ignored. And at first, in the personal mastery program I went through several of them, I denied it. I said, there's no way I've lived, I was 50 years old about all these years, and now you tell me it's this. Now you're telling me, you're showing me something different. I didn't believe it at first.
It's kind of like the world is flat. No, wait,
Yeah.
but it's really round. Oh, but wait, it's actually ovoid.
Exactly, yeah. So that's a perfect example of cognitive dissonance, is the belief that the world is flat.
Right.
And I still think to myself now that if somebody were to tell me that the earth is something other than round, what would I think? Because someone had to tell people that it wasn't flat at one time.
Right.
So those are good examples of that. And that's my biggest challenge as a coach or a leadership trainer, is getting people to see that there is another side to their leadership skills to get to that next level.
Right.
And I can't remember what coach it was that said to me that the personal mastery and the leadership training and leadership development is like climbing a mountain with no top. It's never ending. You're always going to learn
always
something.
Learning.
Always.
And that's the story of life. Continual CPR to continual process improvement. That was from my corporate background. Always asking what more, what else, how can I improve this? Even I was telling, we have a Team Hope meeting that meets the second and fourth Thursday of the month. And I was saying to them that they all contributed to this book that I've just sent off to the publisher that's coming together. And it comes from my background. When I worked for Hewlett-Packard, I was a systems designer. And I would travel with the engineers with the product we were working on, be it software, hardware, whatever. And I was the clinical person on the design team. So no matter where we were, be it China, Germany, Idaho, I would observe how people were using it, and they would say, oh, this is fabulous. They would give us positive feedback, which was great to use for marketing. But what we wanted to know was, how could it be improved? What needs to be better?
Right.
And so that I was always looking for, tell me what needs to be improved. And then we would come back and work on that, chew on that. Of course, there were certain things that made the cut for the different software release or whatever, but that taught me that there's always room for improvement,
of course.
Personally and for anything that you're working on. So with this book, as much as I had sent a preliminary version off to X number of reviewers, the end result is much different than what they sent, because I took feedback. There were several people who said, well, maybe you should include quotes from a more diverse audience.
Right.
There were certain people who were brave enough to give that quality feedback. And so I take that to heart. And then I was able to research and make some subtle changes in the final book, which was what I sent. That 5-pound document was the final. And I'm very happy with it. And I'm happy because of listening and all of the wonderful people who responded. And had I been of the mindset that, no, this is the way it is, I don't believe that the messages would have been delivered as well as they are. I'm really feeling good about it. However, it is a cumulative effort. This whole book has been a very much a group effort.
I'm sure. Well, I could just in reading it, I could see the group effort.
You're still reading it. How far into it are you?
So I'm.
You're in the book 2.
Book 2, and so that's where I started. So now I definitely have to read book 1. And intrigued by it. So having a beginner's mind, so to speak.
Yes.
Which is a very good place to be at.
Yeah.
Beginner's mind, to understand what that means. There's information that I was unaware of to begin with, and I'm learning new things.
Yeah.
And so not only because of what I'm reading in the book, but about you as a new friend. And,
yes.
And inspires me to finish my book as well.
Good for you. Yeah.
Pick up.
Well, this book is also about, I love the cognitive dissonance because it's challenging people's long-term beliefs. I can't tell you how many people are there saying, I'm having to digest this little at a time because it's really making me think about things a little bit differently. And again, that's the purpose. It's about questioning that it's not, we don't have to go down that same path.
That's right.
We can blaze our own new path, new neural pathway.
Well, I read slowly. So, and because I want to absorb every bit of it,
right.
no matter what book I read.
Yeah.
And this is a book is very easy to read, which is really good for me because I like to read slow.
Thank you. I attribute that to my wonderful editors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And so other books I've read similar, I read right through them quickly.
Right.
And I want to read it more because that's my style of what I like to read. So,
yeah. I know
nice.
that the actual sessions themselves are rather complex, but imagine if you were able to ask questions to help your clients. That's what I was simply doing. I had the honor of tapping into these amazing wise ones, but I'm asking questions based on what I do for a living.
Yeah.
So this is second nature to me.
Sure.
And then when my reviewers would they would read it, they'd go, huh?
Yeah.
Can you explain this, please? So in book 2, there's a lot more of my explanatory parts in it.
Yes, that's. I was just going to compliment you on that. Actually, it's very helpful to see the commentary after.
Okay.
And put things in perspective, and because it is so much like a conversation.
Yes.
And trying to make sure stay in line with who's who.
Right.
And then in the end, it just kind of abridged.
Yes.
And I like that. That's very helpful.
Yeah, thank you. The highlights at the very, very end. Yeah, those are the things that I'm tweeting and Facebooking and all of that stuff that I'm putting out there because I'm putting most of this content out there free. You and I talked about this on Facebook. Both of us are very private people.
Yes.
And I every now and again I'll post a little something personal, but I'm not like every day posting about me.
Right.
However, I noticed the same thing about you. I love posting inspiring things because my job, I feel, is to bring that light of hope, to bring a little sprinkle of sunshine, to bring the God winks. And you do the same. I often will reshare your Facebook posts. So you share a lot of wonderfully inspiring posts on Facebook.
Thank you. And there's a method to it all, and thousands of them saved. That
do you really? Good for
something
you.
like this will inspire me to go back and look and say, okay, this is what inspired me today, and find it and post it the next day.
So how do people find you on Facebook?
Geez,
what is your page or your?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Facebook, the is Success Paradigm.
And spell paradigm for people.
Yes, I will. Yeah. So success is right.
Yeah.
And paradigm is PARADIGM.
DIGM.
Yeah. Paradigm.
Okay.
And somebody said to me, "Is that paradigm?" They kept asking me that over and over. I remember at a network event one day, that word came out of my mouth, paradigm. And people were like, "What?" It's one thing to not understand paradigm. But anyways,
and that could be the origin of the word. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. So the everything I usually start on that page and then share it on John Butruccio Jr.
Okay. Yeah.
And for some reason lately, Facebook I have an issue with my page.
Okay.
And I'm not sure the reason why. But,
okay.
I've asked for assistance to get it back up and running, but it's not for some reason. I don't know why.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I know that I share the show on my Lois Hermann Success Coach page, and then I also will repost it to my personal page, and also the Chronicles of Hope, the Messages, has its own page, and please like that page because we're sharing. That's where I'm sharing a lot of the information in this book because I feel like people need to hear this. One of my reviewers, I was saying, well, this book is really meant for the more spiritually, metaphysically minded people, and this elderly, lovely gentleman says, Ms. Lois, I hate to correct you, but this book is meant for everyone.
Yeah.
People need to hear this.
Sure.
People need to get out of their paradigm and shift into a whole new awareness of what they can do to contribute to the oneness of all.
Yeah. Well, at least look.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, a couple of interesting things happened and from a private standpoint, privacy in Facebook. Recently, somebody asked me, John, how come you liked so-and-so's page? And it was politically motivated. And I said, well, I didn't.
Oh.
I don't remember liking it anyways. And they were making it sound like I did something wrong because it didn't fit their narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So I went home and I went back on my page and I looked through all the things I liked, because they do keep track of that.
Right.
And I found it. And so I'm the type of person is I'm going to follow anyone I want, and I want to see it all.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I want to, when somebody's saying something, I want to find out why, so I'll like it and follow it until I can't stand it anymore. Or if it doesn't fit, who I am. And that's what they were complaining about, is that I did something that they didn't like.
Right.
I thought that was kind of rude.
Again, that's, we all have the whole concept of sharing. I'm actually kind of snooty on my Facebook. I only want to, on Twitter, I'll follow different people just to see, opinions.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, I can't take this. Then I'll unfollow. But on Facebook, I'm really kind of clean in that I want only positive. This is just that. This is, I'm really not a Pollyanna, because I have had a lot of pain and anguish in my life. But at this phase of my life, I am choosing positive. I am choosing, my intention is to inspire.
Right.
And it is to inspire hope, inspire others. So when someone goes off on a rant, I'm just like, delete.
And that's choice.
Mm-hmm. It is my choice right now. What do you do, John, to inspire others? What do you do, or what do you recommend to inspire others?
So, my Facebook page, I'm just going to say that right there. It covers all bases, I think.
It does. It has
from
a lot.
Spiritual, maybe a little political, and religion, and I had a man make a comment one time. He didn't like my posts because there wasn't anything about Christianity, and he started really ripping me apart publicly on Facebook. And so I don't answer to any of that stuff. I just say, okay, I just liked it. This is opinion. However, several of people that follow me on a regular basis ripped into him. He means nothing but good, and he takes the high road, and leave him alone. He can post whatever he wants. And then I never heard from him again.
Right. And that's the challenge with putting yourself out there.
It is
on social. As much as I post positive, there every now and again I'll have somebody who will say something that's a little off kilter, and I'll just say, wow, they must be having a challenge. So I just I basically hide them. I don't want it on my feed. Sorry, I'm Miss Positive here. So what do you recommend to people to stay inspired, to stay successful in their life?
The commitment to engage in personal mastery every day, something that builds you up, builds me up every day. And it can be, for my favorite thing is reading positive quotes.
Yes.
I listen to Darren Hardy's podcasts every day.
Okay. Sometimes
one day I'll listen to 3 or 4 of them in a row.
Okay. How long are they?
They're about 3 to 5 minutes.
Oh, nice. Little clips. Yeah.
Little clips. It's only 3 to 5 minutes, and that seems to be very favorable. It's only 3 to 5 minutes.
Right.
Before my personal mastery awakening, if you will, or spiritual awakening, I never really read much. And my coach insisted that I should read. He started me off reading books. He said, John, 5 pages a day. And that woke me up. 5 pages a day turned into several chapters a day.
Right.
And going from no books to like 200 books over an 8-year period.
Yeah, that was one of the interesting things in moving my office. I had so many books, and books that I had forgotten that I had read. And I thought, goodness, if I could retain an ounce of the knowledge that I acquired through all these books, I'd be pretty darn smart.
And, my attitude before was, I almost hate to admit this, but and being humble to admit that I thought, what do they know? And boy, was I wrong. I was so wrong. That was the dropping me to my knees. Is that you get one good thing out of that book, you've just bettered yourself.
Right.
And most books I get piles of downloads of information.
Yeah.
So reading, going to seminars, personal empowerment, leadership seminars, anything that helps build us up.
Right.
And so like mine is every day do a little something, every week something a little bigger, every month something bigger than that, and every year just go away.
Escape. You were up in Maine, weren't you?
Yes, I have a camp in Maine, and that's going away for me.
Okay.
When I built that years ago, the choice was be on the water, or secluded. And being empathic and an introvert, I chose to be secluded because the water is busy and loud and neighbors all over the place, and where I am is very quiet.
I hear you.
And it only takes just driving down the dirt driveway to get to the camp is automatically soothing to me.
Nice. That's how I feel about my house.
Yeah.
It's nestled in the woods, and it just feels so beautiful to be in nature, and just the energy of the trees. Just like my new room has one little window that I can look out and see all the movement of all these beautiful trees, and open the window, listen to the birds. It's just, to me, that, like you, I truly am definitely an empath and much more of an introvert. And it's nice to have that nest to go to.
You know what's interesting? My home where I live is peaceful and quiet as well. Can't see my neighbors, can't hear them. It's very similar setting. I do overlook a meadow, and I could hear a highway in the background.
Okay.
And it is very peaceful and quiet. However, going further north and more secluded is different.
This is Maine, everybody. Just so that you're aware.
Yes, it is Maine. Yeah, both places. So, so getting experiencing that there is quieter out there.
Getting away from the EMF exposure,
exactly,
getting truly feeling the energy, the vibe of nature, which is huge.
The traffic and the energy. You know, I'm a slow driver, so I drive the speed limit or slower, and I can't tell you how many number ones I get. People passing me, doing 15 or 20 miles over the speed limit. Not the number one you think either.
I know. Well, that's their issue. And
it is.
Send them. One of my dear friends. She has come up with this. She has little pistols that she just zip zip zip. Positive energy. That person needs a little zip. Positive energy. So she shoots positive energy to people. And I love that. So just with that kind of person, they just need a. So shoot them back a different finger. That shoot them that positive energy finger. You need that.
And Carmen's pretty quick with those people because usually I'll see them at the next set of lights.
Right.
And so they pass me and flip the bird. But...
and then they're stuck at the light. Isn't that funny?
That's funny, yeah.
So do you have any other thoughts? We just have a few minutes left. Any other thoughts to share on the Chronicles?
We talk about quotes. That's my favorite, getting quotes there because they're little snippets of other people's thoughts, and so mine is clarity, focus, and intention fuel the mighty flames of burning desire.
Nice.
That's my own personal quote.
I like that.
Clarity, focus, and intention fuel the mighty, and in any part of our life, in any way. I do love your book. I just want to make sure that
thank you.
That inspired me to read more books now.
Good.
And my commitment's to finish this one, and any way that I can support that, I will. And to read the first one. Yeah. Now I get it. I can see what's the value.
The first one is a little different because it's the historians, the uncreatives, that are telling us the history of the world. It's really pretty fascinating. I know what you said is something that you had said to me was that some of this is a reminder. A lot of this is not new to people. This is it's just a reminder. It's a replay of what we've heard from so many amazing people before. This is just said in a more current tone with this era. So I hope everybody will take a minute to mark on their calendar 8/8, save the date, don't be late, because we want to make this a bestseller. We need to get this out internationally. I have one of my supporters is saying this needs to be translated. This book is an important book. He would like to see it translated into Hindi and Mandarin and Spanish. So like, oh goodness, one step at a time. Focus on, yes, we've got to get this out there. And then of course there's book 3 that's coming. Sure. But So thank you for taking the time to read it,
Yeah, it's
and
my pleasure.
for being on the show.
Thank you for
You are
having me.
listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Hermann. We're here every Sunday morning, and I have a different, very special guest on every week, and I love spotlighting the different people who are doing amazing things in our world. There's so much negative out there. Put blinders onto the negative and look around you. There are many, many, many more good people out there. Look for them, celebrate them, honor them, and honor yourself. Meanwhile, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. Take good care. Until next week.
WSMN 1590, WSMN 95.